Come on, Jacob, make sure you give a proper greeting to the board members, all right, in French. Tyler said this to me without even making eye contact. In front of the board members who came to inspect our department, Tyler was forcing me to greet them in French. It was easy to imagine that he was trying to embarrass me, knowing that I only had a middle school education. Come on, give it a try. Even middle school level French might get through if you're lucky. He patted my shoulder, urging me on. Tyler was under the mistaken impression that I couldn't speak French. If I really couldn't speak French, I would likely end up having a childish and clumsy conversation. As a result, I would become the laughingstock, just as Tyler intended. But unfortunately for him, the world doesn't always work the way you want it to, Tyler. Then, I opened my mouth. The beginning of Tyler's hell. My name is Jacob. Just a regular guy. I think of myself as just an average man, embarrassingly ordinary compared to others. If I had to say, my only distinguishing feature is my love for traveling. Alone, at that. It's not that I don't have friends, but when it comes to traveling, I prefer going solo. I get to fully enjoy my favorite places and foods, and there's a certain luxury in the moments that can only be experienced alone. That's the real joy of travel for me. Because of my love for travel, I used to go on whirlwind trips a lot during my student days. I didn't have much money, so I used things like youth travel passes, which made the trips somewhat restrictive, but they made me feel alive, and I loved them. I haven't been able to go on such trips lately due to my busy job, but I'm thinking of going again once things settle down. In my mind, I'm always fantasizing about where to go next, what to eat, and so on. I currently work at a global company. It has branches all over the world and is quite large. The employees are not just American, but also foreigners. Everyone can speak English well enough for communication, so there are no issues in the office. Although my days are busy, talking with people from other countries provides a stimulating experience. Talking to them makes me even more eager to travel, fueling my fantasies. I was fortunate to have many good peers, seniors, and juniors, but there was one troublesome guy. The department manager, Tyler. This man was quite a character. Out of all the people in this international company, I had the bad luck of having an American boss who was such an oddball. Did I do something in a past life? Me. Tyler boasts about graduating from Oxford University in the United Kingdom, constantly flaunting his educational background. But just to be clear, his Oxford claim is self-proclaimed. Self-proclaimed. Such a Tyler is an elitist who belittles others based on their educational background. Unfortunately for me, I was excluded from Tyler's selection and was deemed someone to be looked down upon. He would often say, "Jacob's education level is low, so I wonder if it's safe to assign him such difficult tasks. I'm worried. Low education, you know." He would mutter this to himself, even when nobody asked. This monologue would continue until someone responded. "Well, don't worry about education and just give me the task. I'll work on it with you," said Olivia, my colleague. She graduated from a famous national university, so she wasn't looked down upon by Tyler. She always responded properly to Tyler's monologues, cutting short his discriminatory remarks towards me. "If you say so, I guess I'll leave it to you. Make sure you keep an eye on him, okay? He's a middle school dropout, so you never know what he might do." He spoke in a low voice. "I can hear you." With that, she casually said, "Yes," and returned to his desk. Once back at his desk, he said, "Well then, good luck with that, Jacob." While saying this, Tyler was vigorously wiping his ear with a disinfectant wipe, the one he had just used to talk to. Without showing any signs of disgust, he was wiping his ear as casually as one would wipe their hands before a meal. There may be no ill will, but from a guy's perspective, such actions by women can be quite unsettling. I've been enduring Tyler's persistent harassment with an adult's response, though inwardly I find it annoying. Tyler seems increasingly displeased with my lack of negative reaction. Then, there was an announcement about a company inspection. It's rare, but once every few years, board members from the headquarters come to observe the work environment. They do more than just observe. Sometimes they conduct interviews and later send feedback for improvement. It's not exactly announced, but the notice usually comes suddenly, like we're coming tomorrow, so be ready, leaving no time to prepare. That should be the case, but Tyler was different. I completely forgot that he's not the normal type. I thought that even if he pretends for a day, his true colors would quickly show, but Tyler was desperately trying to coat everything with a veneer. Hey, make sure you wipe everything down. Don't leave a single piece of trash. Finish this paperwork by today. If we have unfinished work, they'll think our department is slow. He was shouting things like that. Then, he pushed his own work onto his subordinates and sat back in his chair. Hey Jacob, you do this data entry, it's due today. He threw a thick pile of documents onto my desk. Even with your low education, you should be able to handle this much. Don't drag me down. Tyler must be desperate to make a good impression on the board members, acting like a capable manager to advance his career. He probably wants to clear all the piled up work by today to show them a department that works quickly. Despite having our own work, we're forced to prioritize Tyler's tasks, so we'll probably end up working overtime today. Ideally, I wouldn't want to do Tyler's work, but if I neglect it, who knows what he'll do later. It's better to quietly follow his instructions to avoid trouble. On the day of the inspection, one after another, company executives like the president and vice presidents gathered. Our company employs talented individuals regardless of their nationality, so the upper echelon includes people from various countries. Even I was nervous in front of such a distinguished crowd. Tyler, especially eager for promotion, was hiding his usual arrogance and being obsequious. Watching him, I muttered under my breath, "He's a different person today." Olivia, standing next to me, tried to suppress her laughter. It seems she heard my muttered comment. Sorry, did you hear that? Trying to hide it. I heard it clear as day. Jacob, you sometimes say funny things under your breath, don't you? Olivia said with a smile. Yeah, I think Olivia laughed too much, though. But well, it's true that Tyler seems like a completely different person today. Has his personality been replaced or something? I agree with what Olivia says. It's frightening how much people can change, driven by their desires. As the board members were let in, one of them saw me and said, "Isn't that Jacob?" The man, Michael, with a meticulously groomed, eccentric beard resembling Dolly's, was an older gentleman. Michael was a friend of my father and had helped me get this job. By the way, Michael holds a division chief position at the headquarters. It's been since you joined, hasn't it? How have you been? Honestly, there have been too many changes, almost overwhelming. But I didn't want to burden Michael, who was talking cheerfully, with my troubles. Of course, I'm thriving every day, all thanks to you, Michael. I really appreciate it. There's no need to be so formal. It's true that I introduced you here, but all the achievements from then on are due to your own abilities," he said, gently patting my shoulder. "You might be working at the headquarters soon if you keep this up." I started to feel embarrassed from such high praise. "Oh, I'm still far from it," I responded maturely to Michael's words. "There's no need to be modest. You agree, don't you?" He turned to Olivia. As Olivia was smiling in response, Tyler loudly announced the start of the morning assembly. It seemed like he was trying to interrupt our conversation. "I'll see you later," said Michael as he walked away from us. Tyler quickly seized the opportunity to confront me. "What are you getting cocky about? "You middle school dropout." I stood there, clueless about what he meant. That was Michael, the division chief, wasn't it? "Listen, no matter how much you try to show off, it's pointless. If you get too carried away, I'll make sure you regret it," he warned. So, he saw me chatting with Michael and thought I was trying to ingratiate myself with the board. I wish he wouldn't lump me in with himself. I brushed off Tyler's comment and returned to my seat. The morning assembly began, and Tyler loudly greeted the board members. "Every employee in this department is excellent, and I have fulfilling days thanks to them. Among these talented individuals, Jacob here is particularly outstanding," he said, grinning at me. What was he up to? Praising me in front of the board seemed too strange. Despite being a middle school graduate, Jacob works shoulder to shoulder with us. He said in a way that was unclear whether it was praise or ridicule. No, it was definitely ridicule. Michael nodded in approval. "No, Michael, I'm being disparaged. Jacob has expressed a desire to give a speech in front of the board members. Of course, I had said no such thing. So that was his plan. Rest assured, the speech will be entirely in French," he added, probably thinking I couldn't speak French. It was easy to imagine he wanted to embarrass me with my poor French in front of the international audience. This must be retaliation for my earlier conversation with Michael. The executives encouraged me to speak, saying, "All right, let's hear it." It was a bit disappointing that Tyler had started harassing me in front of everyone. I never thought someone would go to such lengths just out of sheer jealousy. I could reluctantly accept someone exaggerating their own worth to some extent. But in my opinion, anyone who can only elevate their value by lowering others is honestly worthless. This was an opportunity Tyler had unwittingly given me. I thought to myself that I should make the most of it and repay Tyler for everything he had done. First, I introduced myself in English in front of the board. Then, as Tyler wished, I started speaking in French. Tyler was visibly shocked to hear me speaking fluently. His gaping mouth looked so comical that I almost laughed. Olivia seemed to have given up trying to hold back her laughter, her shoulders shaking with silent chickles. The stark contrast between Tyler's and Olivia's reactions was so extreme that I couldn't help but feel amused myself. As I mentioned before, our company has a global presence, so the board members have diverse roots and origins. The vice president is from Spain, the managing director from France, and Michael, the division chief, I believe has Italian roots. While recalling the board members' countries and roots, I continued my speech, seamlessly switching between languages as appropriate. I fluidly transitioned from French to Spanish, then to Italian, and so on. I hadn't planned the content of my speech since Tyler sprung it on me suddenly, but I felt obliged to meet his expectations. To keep the conversation going, I exposed the mistreatment I had received from Tyler in various languages. I candidly revealed the hardships he had inflicted on his subordinates. I talked about how he boasted about being an Oxford graduate and his arrogant behavior towards subordinates with lower educational backgrounds. Being berated for being incompetent simply because of a lower educational level. The fact that I had been subjected to such treatment. And how Tyler, under the mistaken belief that I couldn't speak French due to my middle school education, had set up this speech to embarrass me in front of the board members. I revealed all these details. As I continued my speech, the expressions on the board members' faces gradually turned more perplexed. I delivered the speech in multiple languages, and as expected from such accomplished individuals, they seemed to understand the meanings even in foreign languages. Tyler, on the other hand, appeared to only understand French. He seemed to follow the speech initially, but as I switched languages, he was clearly lost. Unable to keep up, he looked around bewildered. I finished my speech. The board members were whispering among themselves. Behind me, Olivia was holding her stomach, laughing. It seemed she had understood the content of my speech. When our eyes met, she gave me a thumbs up and mouthed "Good job." Michael approached Tyler with a furrowed brow. "Is what Jacob just said true?" he asked, his voice laden with authority. However, the person in question, Tyler, didn't understand what I had said. Muttering well, he became flustered and was unable to respond to Michael. Meanwhile, Olivia raised her hand from behind the board members. "Jess, you're the girl from earlier. What is it?" Michael asked. With a bright smile, Olivia replied energetically. "What Jacob said is true. Everything about Tyler belittling others based on their education and his harassment is all true," she said. Hearing this, Tyler glared at Olivia, saying, "Don't make up such baseless accusations in front of the board members." Usually, Olivia would back down quickly, but not this time. She stood her ground, dignified as if it were her final battle. "I'm not making this up. Jacob spoke in French, Spanish, Italian, and German, right? Tyler, did you not understand? You always mock others for their education, but it's strange, isn't it? You always say you were excellent at Oxford," she retorted, taunting him. Tyler, his face red with anger, yelled at Olivia, "Shut up! Shut up!" Amidst the commotion, President Thompson said quietly, "That's enough." His few words, filled with more than just anger, were enough to command the room. But it seemed to have no effect on the foolish Tyler. "Don't believe what these mere employees say. It's clear that I contribute more to the company." He appealed directly to President Thompson. "These people are framing me. It's impossible for this middle school graduate to speak languages other than English. He must be bluffing, just making it sound convincing," Tyler ranted, insulting me crudely. "Keep your filthy mouth shut for once, Tyler." Executive Director Elizabeth glared at him. "I'm not saying I believe everything he said, but the more you talk, Tyler, the more credible his words seem. Am I the only one who thinks so?" she observed. Michael then spoke up. "I'm quite familiar with Jacob. He has stayed in various countries since he was young, so it's not surprising that he can use different languages. I am of mixed heritage. My father is American, and my mother is half French and half American. My maternal grandfather immigrated from Eastern Europe to France. Though I'm a quarter American, I look like a typical American and have rarely been recognized as mixed race at first glance. My father, a senior figure in a trading company, frequently traveled abroad for work, even as a regular employee, and often rented residences overseas. He met my mother through his work, and they married, leading to my birth. At home, we used both French and English. I was born in America but spent my early years traveling to various countries due to my father's job. I spent my middle school years in America, then moved to France, where I attended University PSL in Paris. Since I was only in America until middle school, my final educational qualification there was junior high school. When Tyler heard that I had attended University PSL, he turned pale. University PSL is a renowned university in France, known for its extremely high entry standards. However, I've always believed that educational background isn't everything. There are more important things than academic credentials, and in a society that needs to constantly progress, flaunting decades-old achievements seems utterly pointless to me. I've always said that what matters more than where you graduated from is what results you produce in the future, I often retorted when Tyler treated me as incompetent. But to Tyler, my words, coming from a middle school graduate, never seemed to register, dismissed as mere sour grapes. In reality, being a graduate of a globally renowned university meant Tyler could no longer ignore what I said. I wondered if I had done something wrong. Tyler, who had been ranting and raving until a moment ago, now seemed deflated and subdued. his only identity of being a high achiever seemingly invalidated. Michael continued his pursuit of Tyler. Tyler, your educational background is indeed impressive. However, using it as a shield to compare yourself to others and assert your superiority is foolish. Truly wise people don't judge others by their educational background but by their character. In that respect, I'm afraid you're acting foolishly. Tyler opened his mouth to retort but seemed unable to find the words and closed it again. He appeared very frustrated, his tightly clenched fists trembling. All you've treasured seems to be just past glories, said Elizabeth, looking over a pile of documents. An Oxford graduate in name only, dumping your work on subordinates, imposing unreasonable targets. What exactly have you learned since joining this company? It seems the real incompetent one here is you. Tyler exclaimed, that's absurd. I was just wishing for the growth of my subordinates. He tried to justify. Trying to appear innocent now seemed embarrassingly insincere. This inspection was also part of selecting members for a major upcoming project. Michael approached Tyler and said, your name was among the candidates, but after today's events, you will no longer be participating in the project. Tyler pleaded tearfully. Wait, please, I've worked hard for this company. Maybe I went too far in my training methods, but... Before he could continue, President Thompson intervened. Stop devaluing yourself. Acknowledging your faults and changing your behavior is the best contribution you can make to our company now. Don't you think? Tyler was admonished for his behavior towards his subordinates and warned that further actions might lead to more severe consequences. He quietly listened to the board members discuss his future. The inspection was temporarily suspended. It was impossible to start regular work in such a tense atmosphere. After a short while, I was called by Michael to a meeting room. There, I found Michael, Elizabeth, and Olivia, who had also been summoned. Thank you for your courage in speaking up earlier. Elizabeth thanked me. I'm sorry for the way I exposed the issue. It was rather rough. Well, it was indeed a bit rough. While Tyler is to blame, you did demean your direct supervisor in front of the board. Indeed, that's true. While it may seem like Tyler was entirely at fault, an accusation without following the proper procedures can be perceived as mere slander or gossip. To adhere to the company's rules, there should have been an established protocol to address such issues. But Elizabeth, enduring harassment and finally speaking out in such a drastic way is understandable. Olivia interjected in my defense. Indeed, that's why we won't reprimand him this time, and being multilingual like that is quite a talent, Elizabeth complimented. Her recognition of my abilities was genuinely heartening. So, Jacob, we'd like you to join the major project we mentioned earlier, along with Olivia. Olivia and I were both surprised. In fact, Olivia's reaction was even louder than mine. As for Jacob, as we said earlier, the board members consider him a great talent and want him to participate. Olivia was the only employee, other than the board members, who understood and supported what Jacob said. Indeed, Olivia had understood my words and even backed me up. If I'm considered a talent, then Olivia should receive equal recognition. Me too, Olivia asked, her voice trembling like a small animal. Of course, we really want you both on board. Elizabeth reassured her, holding her hand. The project was global in scale, necessitating multilingual skills. I might not be as skilled as Jacob, but I can speak about 8 languages well enough for tourism, Olivia said enthusiastically, rolling up her sleeves. Olivia, it seems, also enjoys traveling and began learning languages to communicate with locals. She finds joy in understanding the various backgrounds of the places through their languages. I admired Olivia's attitude of not just sightseeing but wanting to understand the culture and history of the places she visits, and I found myself wanting to know more about her. After Michael and Elizabeth outlined the project, I agreed to participate, and things progressed swiftly. I soon started working jointly with people from the headquarters. Thanks to Michael's arrangement, I was paired with Olivia. It was thought that working with a colleague on this first major project might be smoother than pairing with someone I didn't know. Once, we had a business meeting with a salesman from an Italian company. True to his Italian roots, he praised Olivia and even tried to flirt with her. What's with this guy? We're in the middle of work. Is this typical for Italians? The passion of their country is something else. Olivia, seemingly unaccustomed to being flirted with, looked a bit troubled. I said lightly, "This is a business meeting, so please keep it professional," but he showed no intention of stopping. I didn't want to be too forceful and risk jeopardizing the deal. However, watching Olivia being flirted with so closely and having her hand held, I found myself inexplicably irritated. I intervened between them, saying with a firm smile, "I am the main contact here. Please direct your attention to me." The salesman chuckled, saying, Okay, I'll cool it." After that, he stopped bothering Olivia, and the business deal was successfully concluded. As we were about to leave, the Italian salesman suddenly put his arm around my shoulder. "Hey brother, you should just be honest and go for it," he suggested. He said this with a shy smile. "What are you talking about?" I asked, puzzled. "Hey brother, your face is all red. You really thought you could hide it," the salesman said, chuckling as he left. Even when I got home, I kept thinking about the cheerful salesman's words. Just be honest. Since the meeting room incident, I had become acutely aware of Olivia. I thought my feelings were just admiration, nothing more. But seeing another man make advances towards her during the negotiation, my heart felt strangely agitated. I guess I must like Olivia. I felt a bit of regret. Not for falling for her, but for being made aware of my feelings by that carefree Italian salesman. Realizing it because someone else pointed it out made me feel like a grade schooler. Realizing my feelings for her made every little thing she did stand out to me. Had she always smiled so adorably? I pondered over how charming her expressions were every day. Our shared interests and conversations were so enjoyable, it was undeniable. "I've noticed you always watching her. Is that really how it is?" While eating in the cafeteria, I overheard the conversation of employees sitting behind me. "Yes, I suppose so. Young love is so cute." That voice sounds familiar. Should I just go and tell them? Maybe I should play Cupid. Don't meddle. Go for it, Elizabeth. Be the Cupid of love. I knew these two would actually do it. I had to stop them. "Please don't bother with unnecessary things," I protested. It was Elizabeth and Michael behind me. Since that incident, they had been strangely involved with me. I never knew Michael had such a playful side. Despite their teasing, I worked earnestly. Maybe even more so because of Olivia. I wanted to show her my best side. Thanks to our efforts, the major project we were part of was a success. At the celebration, everyone was enjoying the meal with joyful faces. I looked around the venue for Olivia but couldn't find her. Thinking she might have stepped outside, I opened the door to the lobby. There was Olivia. With Tyler. I hid and eavesdropped on their conversation. "Are you sure about this? You might not be able to return for years," Tyler said, no longer in his usual sarcastic tone, but genuinely concerned for his subordinate. Since then, Tyler had stopped belittling others based on their education. I felt uneasy and couldn't bring myself to approach them, so I continued to listen secretly. "I can't believe you volunteered for an overseas transfer." An overseas transfer? This was news to me. I knew our company had recently established a new branch in a different region, but her volunteering for a transfer was unexpected, and she had requested it herself. "Are you sure about this? You might not be able to return for years." Olivia simply responded, "I'm aware of everything." After Tyler left, I approached Olivia. "Are you really going overseas?" Olivia looked surprised at my question. "Sorry, I was eavesdropping," I admitted. "I've always planned to work abroad, and this time, they asked for volunteers. I decided to take the chance. This project's success pushed me forward," she explained, her face shining. "I don't plan to stay there forever. I want to build a home in America. It's just a step for self-improvement. It sounds cool when I say it," she said with a smile I loved. After a moment of hesitation, I said, looking straight at her, "There's something I want you to hear. I like you." She looked up at me with wide eyes. "I don't want to be apart, but I want to support you in your work, so can I visit you sometimes?" I said, scratching my cheek. In moments like this, I get frustrated at myself for not being able to say something more clever. But she responded by embracing me with a beaming smile. "Definitely. You must come to visit me." I hugged her back. A month later, Olivia left for overseas. I might have felt only sadness before, but now it was different. I trusted her, and she trusted me. Olivia reports that her work is challenging but fulfilling. Her updates about various happenings outside of work, both the big and small moments, I find endearing. She wears a ring, and I have its matching pair on my finger. I thought the promise rings might be too much, but Olivia accepted them happily. "At times when I feel lonely, I'll look at this and cheer up," she said with a smile at the airport, making me realize once again how precious and dear she is to me. Wearing the same rings, even when we are apart, I feel like our hearts are connected. Right now, I'm planning various things, lying on my bed. I've decided to travel to meet Olivia. The excitement of seeing her outweighs the anxiety of visiting an unknown place. Thinking about how to greet her, or what kind of stories will make her happy, brings a smile to my face. I've always enjoyed traveling, but this trip seems to be the most exciting one yet. It's not about where you go, but who you go with. That saying really rings true. "I think we need to break up," she said suddenly. I was stunned by her unexpected words. In my right hand, I was holding a diamond ring, and she was looking bitterly at it. "What do you mean by breaking up, Emma? You told me you wanted to marry me. That's why I'm so sorry. I've fallen for someone else. I'm very sure that you'll find someone better than me, and someone who deserves that ring more than I do." I felt like crying, but nothing came out. The girl who just broke up with me had tears brimming in her eyes and a pained expression on her face. "Goodbye." Her voice echoed into the distance. The alarm on my phone went off, and I woke up feeling tired. My name is Ryan. I got fired from my job last week. Lately, I keep having this dream. A dream where an old girlfriend of mine breaks up with me. It's been 10 years since that actually happened, and I thought I had moved on. Why now all of a sudden? Maybe because the fact that I was fired last week still hurts. When something bad happens, unpleasant memories come flooding back. Seriously, I can't believe there still are some companies that prohibit employees from working a second job. It was my fault, but anyway, that was why I got fired. For doing another job. But that was something I had to do, as it was like a passion for me. Well, what do you do? I went to a few employment agencies to sign up. After that, since I had some time in the afternoon, I went to my favorite cafe to eat pancakes and thought about a present for my girlfriend. Of course, not for the girl from the dream. Fortunately, I'd been blessed with a new girlfriend, and we'd been together for just over 3 years. Unlike when I was with Emma, this time I already got an answer to my proposal. I didn't want to be dumped at the very last minute like before. I noticed there was a new text message on my phone. "I'll help you with the preparations tomorrow. I'll be there by 9 a.m. Love you." Reading the message, I smiled, remembering what my plan was for the next day. "Okay, can't wait to see you. Love you too," I replied to the message, pulling myself together. The next day was her birthday, and also the day of my first solo exhibition. I rented space at an art gallery in a shopping district to display the jewelry I made. I started making jewelry in college as a way to relieve stress, but never expected it would reach the level where I could sell them online. Then that online business page was discovered by a colleague, and that was how my boss found out about my second job. Even though I lost my main job, I was making a decent income from my jewelry business, so I wasn't worried at all. I just never thought about making it my main job, but this exhibition might be a good opportunity to seriously consider that. With that thought, I felt even more motivated. The next day, when I arrived at the gallery, Sarah was already there, discussing with the person in charge and preparing for my exhibition. "Ryan, you're late." "Sorry, Sarah. I overslept a bit. I thought you were a morning person," Sarah said, her surprise making me feel guilty. I couldn't possibly tell her that I overslept because I had a dream about Emma. "Just got lost in thought and stayed up late last night. Are you still worried about being fired?" "Yes, something like that." "Don't worry about it. It is what it is. Now you can openly do what you love." To cheer me up, Sarah smiled warmly. For a moment, her smile reminded me of Emma's, which was making me feel uneasy. "Wow, this ring is really pretty." Suddenly, while arranging the display items, Sarah spoke up. Following her gaze, I saw her looking at a diamond ring prominently displayed on the shelf. That ring brought back the painful memories of the past. That was the first ring I ever made. Really, it's so well made. It wasn't that hard, probably because I had been making other types of jewelry since my university days. Initially, I only made simple items like earrings and cufflinks for myself. It wasn't until I met my ex-girlfriend, Emma, that I started making jewelry with someone else in mind. I was seriously considering marriage with Emma. Wanting to gift her a ring, I began jewelry making in earnest. In the end, Emma never received the ring I made for her. "I might want this one for an engagement ring." "What?" I froze at Sarah's words. The idea of giving my current girlfriend the ring I made for Emma felt so wrong. Although I loved Sarah very much, I kept dreaming about Emma. I still wondered why Emma looked so pained when she broke up with me. That thought made it impossible to forget her. "We're running out of time. We need to finish setting up soon." True, Sarah's words brought me back to my senses. Having nearly finished arranging the display items, I also completed setting up the cash register. Looking at Sarah, I saw her again gazing at that ring. Was this the sort of ring Emma telling me about, I wonder? Sarah was only talking to herself. Muttering softly, Sarah noticed me standing silently and quickly came towards me. Wait, what did she just say? Was it just a coincidence, or did I hear it wrong? But either way, doubts began to surface in my mind. As the exhibition opened, many people, primarily my supporters on social media, gathered. The displayed jewelry sold quickly, and the ring Sarah liked also attracted lots of attention. "Isn't that ring for sale?" "I'm sorry. This ring is for display only, and I have no intention of reproducing it." That's a shame. Each time I watched a customer leave, I thought about the dream I had the night before. When I decided to exhibit that ring, I thought that meant I had moved on from Emma. Yet since she appeared in my dream, all I could think about was her. Why can't I forget Emma? She dumped me after all. How much is this ring? It doesn't have a price tag. Another customer inquired about the ring, and Sarah, who was standing nearby, responded, I'm sorry, this is only for display and not for sale. It was made by Ryan for someone very special to him. We appreciate your understanding. She said politely to the customer. Did Sarah know about Emma and that the ring was originally intended for her? That fleeting thought from earlier returned. And for some reason, Sarah reminded me of Emma. Sarah, how did you know this ring was so special to me? Well, you always look so wistful when you look at it. There are other items that are not for sale, but it's obvious that this ring is something special, just by watching you, Ryan. Sarah answered, pouting, and seemed to be telling the truth. But why did she murmur her name earlier? Are you sure you're telling me everything? What do you mean? How did you know about Emma? What, Emma? You mean Emma, my cousin. How do you know about her? Your cousin. As we looked at each other in surprise, an elderly man approached and asked me, excuse me, how much is this ring? I was startled at first, but soon realized who that man was. Wait, this man is. He was Emma's father. As I visited her house several times when I was still going out with Emma, I knew her parents very well. Although I hadn't seen them since our breakup, and Emma's father had aged quite a bit, I knew straight away that it was definitely him. Oh, Sarah, Uncle James, what are you doing here? Before our surprise subsided, Emma's father and Sarah exchanged those words, surprising me even more. I needed to know what was going on, so I asked Emma's father if we could talk after the exhibition. He agreed to meet me at a nearby cafe. When our coffee arrived, Emma's father quietly lowered his eyes without drinking his. Emma passed away the other day. His words left me in utter shock, unable to comprehend. Sitting next to me, Sarah also widened her eyes, seemingly at a loss for words as well. What do you mean? What happened to Emma? My voice trembled as I finally managed to speak. She had a terminal illness. It started 10 years ago. The disease was already advanced when discovered, and the doctor told her that she wouldn't live long. That was why she broke up with you, lying about falling for someone else. I never thought Sarah would be dating you, Ryan. Was Emma suffering all this time, choosing to break up with me so as not to involve me in her struggle with illness? I recalled the pained expression on her face when she said goodbye to me, suddenly making sense of it. Yet, it still didn't feel real. Next to me, stunned, Sarah slowly began to speak. I knew Emma was sick, but I never knew it was that bad, and she passed away. She fought for 10 years, initially given only 6 months to live. We informed your parents, Sarah, but it seems the news hadn't reached you. Sarah silently shed tears, and both Emma's father and I quietly thought of her. After about 5 minutes of silence, as Sarah's tears subsided, I asked her, So are you related to Emma? Yes, we are cousins. Our homes were far apart, and with her health condition, I didn't get to see her lately, but we used to be very close like sisters when we were young. No wonder you somewhat resembled Emma. Do you think so? Our relatives often say that too. Yes, they did resemble each other. A while ago, Emma told me about her old boyfriend she was still in love with. He made a ring for her, but she had to break up with him because of her illness, and didn't get to receive the ring. I never thought you were that person, honey. When I saw that ring earlier, I just wondered if the ring Emma told me about looked similar to that. Maybe Sarah sensed something when she was gazing at that ring. I was thinking that when Emma's father looked at me apologetically. I came here today to ask you if I could borrow that ring to put in Emma's coffin. He showed me the flyer for my exhibition. Emma never stopped thinking about you. She followed your social media, even secretly buying your jewelry under a friend's name. When she saw a photo of the ring on this flyer, she cried, asking me to put it in her coffin when she died. Why didn't Emma tell me? Hearing her true feelings from her father meant a lot to me, and I finally understood why she had to break up with me. But at the same time, I had an overwhelming sense of guilt when I thought about Emma suffering on her own all those years, and I had no idea what was going on. As Sarah's tears finally eased, mine began to flow uncontrollably. When is Emma's funeral? It's scheduled for tomorrow. That's why I'm asking. I know it's a lot to ask, but I'd like to buy that ring off you. If that's not possible, could I borrow it so I could at least put it in her coffin during the funeral? I just want to fulfill her last wish. He looked at me earnestly. His beloved daughter passed away, and he came to see me the day before her funeral just to fulfill her last wish. I gripped Emma's father's hand firmly. Please take it with you. I made it for Emma anyway. Thank you. Tears spilled from his eyes as if something inside him had collapsed. The next day, Sarah and I took a taxi to the designated funeral home. I wonder if Emma will be happy with this ring. Of course, she will be. Sarah took my hand and squeezed it encouragingly as I voiced my uncertainty. In the inner pocket of my suit was the little case containing the ring. I was about to give it to Emma. Gripping her hand tightly, I finally reunited with Emma after 10 years. Long time no see. Emma, lying in the coffin, didn't say anything. Her body had become frail and thin, but her face hadn't changed since I last saw her. I brought you a ring today. Sorry for being late. From now on, this ring will stay by your side to protect you, so please, don't cry. I gently opened the ring case, and the diamond sparkled brightly inside. I took it out of the case and placed it in the coffin. Apparently, the ring couldn't be cremated with her. But Emma's father had negotiated with the funeral home to allow the ring to be placed in the coffin under the condition that it would be removed soon after the funeral. The funeral proceeded smoothly, and I was able to say my final goodbye to Emma. Emma is really gone. Yes, we won't see her ever again. Sarah, being Emma's relative, would be attending the cremation, but as a non-family member, I planned to call a taxi and leave. Sarah accompanied me to the taxi stand. Are you sure? Not staying until the end? I've already said goodbye to Emma, and I have to go home. There's something I need to do. What? Can you come to my place tomorrow? There's something I want to give you. She smiled softly, a bit nervously, at my words. Yes, I'd be happy to. In my home workshop, there's a ring I've been making for Sarah. Originally, I planned to finish it on the night of the exhibition and give it to her today. Just to make it clear, though I think you know, I've been making a ring for you, and I only thought of you while making it. It felt somewhat embarrassing to say it out loud. Whether she knew my thoughts or not, she didn't hide her joy and held my hand tightly until the taxi arrived. As the taxi drove away, the scenery outside the window grew distant. Goodbye, Emma. I wondered if she had ascended to heaven peacefully. For a moment, I became worried, but then I felt certain she was fine. Looking up at the blue sky above the smoke rising from the crematorium, I finally remembered Emma's beautiful smile, not the sad look from my dreams.